But some secrets hide behind a smile and ordinary gestures. Who would have thought that behind my wife's sweet and innocent look was a web of lies and cheating? One day, damn the moment, I accidentally stumbled across their correspondence. It was as if they were writing a novel, but instead of paper and pen, they were using their phones. I read every word, every message, and they revealed to me a forbidden world I wasn't ready to enter. My wife's lover was getting everything from her that seemed inaccessible to me. It's as if playing with fire, they were creating their own secret history, dissolving into a world of forbidden desires. In this video, I will tell you about my wife's amazing infidelity, which became a guiding thread in the depths of a dramatic destiny. By texting her lover her voluptuous messages, she unwittingly signed her own sentence and sowed destruction in our family. Prepare to learn the truth I will reveal in this story, where guilt and betrayal intertwine in an unpredictable dance. And here we go. Greetings, everyone. I'm now well into my 40s. I am under a lot of stress from what happened, and this time, I cannot soberly assess what decision to make and what the right thing to do is. Fate has really screwed me in my personal life, and only by hearing my story from beginning to end will you be able to understand me. I have been married twice. I still can't believe it could happen to me again. That's the first marriage my wife and I at the time had been dating for 4 years and had been married for 2 years. She was 20 at the time. I was 23. We have a child of 2 years. We got married because we were pregnant, but we also had love. I waited until I got out of the army. We loved each other so much that we couldn't even be without each other for 3 days. Attic's weddings and a baby were in the plan, but a little later, as soon as my wife graduated. And here was the gorgeous wedding one could only dream of. Then my son was born, just living with my parents, between my wife and in-laws. Everyone is happy. I consider myself a responsible father and husband, trying to earn all the money in the world for my family. I've never asked anyone for help. I tried to do everything on my own. So that's how we got into our everyday life. I was working almost every day at that time. I tried to pay attention to my family. I don't go out with my friends. I don't drink. And accordingly, no thoughts of any flirtations and romances with other girls. I'm a one-woman man with notions of family and love once and for all. I realize that our feelings have cooled down with family concerns, but I believe this is temporary and that we will somehow get through these difficulties together. My wife is taking a sabbatical. Well, my son is young, but after a year, I have to go to school. Excite with the child in my free time, and my parents will show my wife to her studies. Also, she performs the role of mother admirably. Here's the story of deceit and betrayal. The wife had a childhood love and has had feelings for him since high school. He then moved to another city 6 months later and got lost, but she still has that relationship in her memory. So she found him on social media and started chatting about everything that happened to them after the separation. I noticed my wife deleting a message that compromised her. Next, a conversation with the wife. Then an emotion. But it didn't come to hand. She was silent until the last moment, in tears without explaining anything for 3 days. During this fight, she repeatedly offered to divorce us so we wouldn't torture each other. To my questions about her relationship options with him, she just freaked out and wouldn't explain anything. In the end, after much shouting and speculation from me, she confessed to me. She admitted that she had met him many times, that she had walked with him through parks and entertainment venues. My wife confessed that she had kissed him passionately and that she had a strong liking for him. But it wouldn't come to bed as she realizes she has a husband and a child. I believe it could have only gotten worse from there, as the initiative to meet, kiss, and further a relationship was just on her part. At the same time, this friend of hers had a wife and child. There were attempts on his part to cut off any further relations so as not to simply ruin our family. At that point, there was no talk of divorce on my part. I took her and her son to her parents for 3 days, thinking that I would calm down and think things over with a sensible, cold mind. But those 3 days turned into a week, and this whole week, I was tormented. I could not sleep at night. I reached tears in my pillow. I could not work normally. I thought about her. You should understand me. I was a young kid then, and in front of my eyes, of course, constantly pictured how she walks with him, kissing, and what's worse too. Fortunately, my father came to my aid at that time when he was still alive and well. He told me that they definitely had something, and that I needed to divorce her because she would cheat all her life. I pondered this decision, came to her to talk to her, to which I received very quick and unquestioning consent. It turned out that there was such love. At the same time, she demanded that her son be hers, to which I refused, but there was no going back. The girl clung to her and did not agree to anything but divorce. She began to demand blackmail, and on the day of the trial, I agreed to everything. We got divorced. The first time I saw my son was about a year or so, maybe less, but that's not the point. I was going through a lot of breakups, drowning it in the glass, and in seeing my son. But the thing is, about a year later, maybe even less, that friend of hers, the lover, divorced his wife, of course, at her initiative, since she found out about the mistress on the side, packed its things and went to her parents. He turned out on his own, offered my ex to move in with him. They moved in together, and 6 months later, they were married. A Tituant mother 8 months later, his parents, who were working in Poland at the time, suggested that the young, newly minted family move in with them. They thought about it and agreed. In fact, then my connection with my son was broken off. There were only rare calls on major holidays, birthdays, but you know yourself. He's brought up by another man because mommy has tried and instilled in a grown-up child the worst about me. As time went by, I coped with it, stopped drinking, struck out at work. And then I met my future wife, Natasha, and in a very romantic way. We started dating. After some time, we started to live together. We rented an apartment. We lived together for almost a year. At that time, I had a mishap with my job, which nobody could have predicted. A firm closes. I was left without the income I had, and we went back to my parents. One day, I went to visit Natasha, and she wasn't home. I started waiting and worrying. She wasn't there. I thought, where is she? It was a day off. Finally, I waited. A specialist who worked with her in the same building brought her home. There was a terrible picture of jealousy, questioning, and all that. Because you yourself understand, my past had left an indelible imprint on my psyche. I hyperbolized every situation, even the most lazy one, magnified it, and imagined the worst in terms of adultery. So Natasha, at that moment, was insolent and somehow unoriginal. I felt somehow uncomfortable, so we fought and I went home with a bad feeling. After a while, we made up again. Then the situation repeated itself. I was walking home to her house and saw this devil who was driving in the same direction as me. I felt a tingle in my heart. I ran, but only had time to see her drive away. I guessed where they could go and went to the disco. Such as it was, she left with him for the disco where he found her. No wonder. It's a young thing. We were both about 25. There were jealousy scenes again and everything. After that, it died down and it was even for a few months, and I was wondering whether she was cheating on me or not. At times, I got to her about something like, told me that no, she did not cheat, but I had no peace. I was tormented. Well, I was drunk and cheated on Natasha with some singer, and I was stupid enough to cheat on mine. I started going to the hospital for treatments and such. Then she suspected me and had to tell me everything. I mean, confess. Believe me, I was truly sorry for what I had done. She was hysterical, crying. It was painful for me to watch. I apologized as much as I could. Then things seemed to get better again. 6 or 7 months later, I happened to walk into her workplace and see her sitting next to him and laying her head on his shoulder. They saw me and freaked out, but I was all boiling up inside. I thought, let's break up and that's it. For a week later, she called crying and begging me to come over. I came. We argued again. There was jealousy and questioning again, and whether or not she was there. Then somehow things went really well. Agree. We met and we were always together. She and I were happy, and a year and a half later, we got married. In another year and a half, a child was born. Everything was going well. That money started coming in. All in all, a strong family, I would say. In 5 years, we had another child. We live soul to soul, and the children grow up. One day, we went on a trip to one of the local lakes. And wow, we met the fucking specialists there. Well, probably 14 years after the last event. My insides boiled over. I started interrogating Natasha, and you could even say, persecuting her. I couldn't find room for myself. I kept bringing up old memories. I couldn't calm down. Or I could, but not for long. I asked her whether she was there with him. Then I came up with an idea and suggested she take a lie detector test. She agreed at first, but when I seriously started to ask her, she cried bitter tears and told me everything. Yes, she had, even how many times. She would repent and was very sorry about everything. It was all, of course, after I had messed up. I was guilty, of course, but I confessed right away. Well, if I hadn't been pressed, I probably wouldn't have confessed. But that was the second topic. Outwardly took it all calmly, but my heart was beating frantically inside. So, I don't know what to do. For behind 15 years of happy life, which was essentially my own self in a mix, is now destroyed. And what the future holds for me, I don't know. Given that first failed marriage, I don't think I could ever trust a woman and start a family again. I try to forget, and I want to forget, but I can't. Sometimes I forget for 3 days, and then again with renewed vigor. Custody suffocates. Prison poisons everything from the inside. What can I do? I just hate him. Maybe someone, and funny, maybe someone will say evil words to me. Well, it's a young thing and all. But I do care. Maybe someone will give some advice from the elders. And now on to the second story. Some dramas of fate are not created in books and movies, but in real life where betrayal and revenge are intertwined in a dangerous game. My story began with my wife's infidelity when her false promises broke my heart to pieces. But I decided not to let myself be a victim. I would not let her walk away empty-handed. The moment she thought she had succeeded, I began to build my cold revenge. It's with each step, I was getting closer to exposing her lying mask and destroying her illusions. In this video, I will share with you the amazing story of my wife's cheating and my ruthless revenge. Get ready for exciting turns of events and shocking revelations that will turn your idea of love and betrayal upside down. This is the story that will show you that fate plays a role in our lives, but we willfully choose how to respond to betrayal and take the path of revenge. Hello, friends. Today I will tell you my story. It is about how women can be insidious and cunning as they give, but all for a reason. And now onto his wife. We lived for 10 years. She is older than me by 3 years, and our family is quite large. We raised 3 children, all boys. His wife, by the way, is beautiful. I just wonder how she married me in the first place. We have everything for a full family existence. An apartment, a car, a country house, and all. After marriage, the next year, our first son was born, and I was working in the miles at that time. I cheated on my wife. After that, I was literally sucked in by women, whom I have always sought with difficulty. Face did not show, but there was no commitment, only physiological contact. 6 years later, a curious thing happened. That was a girl with whom I had slept before that was looking after her for about 2 months. She told all her aunts, who in turn found my wife and demanded that she leave me and that I live with the same girl. Although, as I told you, that relationship was one time and without any promises. I was ready to put in for surgery, but not terrible to remove a hernia along with my wife. But the hospital was in another locality. Action on another visit to them, my wife's phone rang, but she did not answer, saying that it was an unknown number and she would not answer. Before much, I knew she was nervous. I took her phone and remembered the number. As it turned out later, it was her ex-boyfriend. There were no scandals, but bad feelings have not left me. And now 4 years after we celebrated our 10-year anniversary together, life is still on her unsober head. Though, by the way, I suspected, but I tried not to think about it. And in my heart, I hoped that it was not so. You see, she cheated on me with her ex-boyfriend 2 months after that most unfortunate phone call when I was on a business trip. At the time, she had already gone to work. I decided to calm down and asked her why she did it. She answered calmly and ambiguously, but quite logically. First, it was revenge for my betrayal. Second, she wanted to know what it was like to cheat on her husband. The third, to remember her youth. The fourth and final reason was to compensate for the feeling that someone sincerely loves her. By the way, this guy, as far as I know, loves her madly, although he is already married and also has children. When asked if she feels guilty, she replied that no, she feels no guilt. She only feels a kind of joy and euphoria, because it is apparently revenge for my sins. Also, she said that she did not like cheating and will not do so again. As when asked why she has not divorced me, knowing about my affairs, she somehow answered ambiguously and evasively, returning to what she had previously said. I will explain that she is a law enforcement officer. From the beginning, she knew about all my affairs. You can imagine she recorded phone calls and sums and so on. His obsidians and the lake that is from the beginning of our relationship, she kept me in the crosshairs. At what I certainly guessed, but hoped that she would hardly use her so-called office position. I am no angel, but from her side I such and be happy about it, and then live as if nothing had happened. I understand it in the sense that she survived and swallowed everything. But then she could not resist and repaid the same. We were sort of even with the difference that she knew all about me immediately and kind of forgave me. And I learned about it all only 10 years later, and I cannot forgive her. No. Because all 10 years, she lied to me, hid that she was watching me. She watched me and did not know about my victories. She had not forgotten her ex, and to this day, she cheated on me. Although I asked her about it before, she swore that she would never do that under any circumstances and did not try to turn me in the right direction. What if it could be done almost immediately? She stupidly decided to change and try to fix something like this. As I understand it, before her cheating, I did not have the desire to go away, and to this day, I still have no trust in each other. But I have a number of questions to you. Please help. First, whether she loves me at all. Second, is it worth building a relationship anew and living with her and her 3 sons? Third, whether she will cheat again or really finish it. The fourth and final question to you is how to continue life with her, how to restore trust, and how to forgive. I am grateful for your analysis of my situation and for any advice. Please do not throw stones, dear listener. I challenge you to answer the questions of a young man. It seems not to see the obvious excuse of tautology, but it's so. I will not comment anything today. Those who watch and subscribe to the channel know my position and can easily predict my answers. But they think, in 90% of cases, it coincides with yours. Also, I have a small request to you. It will take just 5 seconds of your time. Please turn on notifications of releases on our channel directly under this clip. It's easy by clicking on the bell. Why? Please explain. I see that only 30% of subscribers on the channel watch videos, and that means that you skip a lot of videos. So turn on notifications and subscribe to the channel. See you soon.